One of the biggest challenges for me whenever I was pipelining was worrying so much about what others thought about me. Honestly, I still struggle with it today.
Some people ask me how I stay clean, or if actually the question is, do you ever get dirty?
Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. Make sure and get your coffee all topped off, because today we're going to be welding a piece of 24-inch pipe on a 45 for fun and for practice. I haven't been on a pipeline in several years, but I enjoy welding pipe and I enjoy getting better at my craft that I enjoy. So that's why I like to weld for practice and for fun, and why not share that with you. If you missed last week's video, which will be the first part of this video, the prep of this weld, we'll put a link in the description so you can go check out how we prepped this weld. But today we're going to be making the weld. For most of the first pass, I will be using 1/8 60-10, and a couple of areas where it got a little bit wide, I will be using 532 80-10. Over the 7 years that I pipeline welded, the common procedure for most gas companies was 60-10 for the bead, but I did work one job where the procedure was to run 80-10. All that to say is it's good to practice with 80-10 for your bead, not just 60-10. And with where we're headed in the industry now, it's not bad to practice with 70-18, 70-16, and uphill rods, if you will. For the second pass, also known as the hot pass, I will be using 3/16 80-10. And for the two filler passes, I will be using 532 80-10. I will be running two stripper passes, is what we call them. We're gonna put one pass on this side of the bevel and then one pass on the other side. That's just to help us whenever we go to cap this, because for the cap, I'm going to be puddle capping it, which just means one single pass versus two or more passes. And whenever we're capping on a 45, it's good to keep your filler just a touch low, but also as flat as possible. And by putting two passes versus one on a 45, that helps us do that.
practicing welding with my left hand. Some people ask me how I stay clean, or if actually the question is, do you ever get dirty? As little as possible. I wear knee pads because it's better on your knees, but I also wear them to keep my fresh starch clean. Come on. Hello. Let's see here. Yeah, we'll take a 1/8 there too. switching to a 1/8. .532. Up 10, 532. By the way, I'm running a 532 8010. Difficult. My left hand. The 8010s like to snuff out. And like I've said in the past, I don't have the finesse in my left hand that I do my right. That's why I'm practicing with it. I want to get better at it. Come on, baby. Come on. Take a look at this bead. See if I bust my test today. Truth is, some inspectors would like it, some wouldn't.
Which is why I'm practicing and why I'm a firm believer in always practicing no matter how good you get. Although it is a reality that no matter how good you are, it is still a possibility for the inspector to bust you over something minute that is just part of the pipeline game sometimes, unfortunately. Any welding game where you got to go test, that's just how it is, because it either could be political or it also literally could be because that inspector's standards are way higher than this other inspector that you tested for on the last job, or any other variable for that matter. There are tons of different variables that goes into burning one welding rod, not to mention driving 20 hours to take a test, what that does to you mentally, depending on your financial situation, and you got to pass the test to get the job. But the arc length in your welding rod, the angle of your welding rod, the travel speed of your welding rod, the weather outside. The weather affects you as a human, your agility, if you will, how limber you are. If it's cold, you may not be as limber. If it's hot, you might be more fatigued. The weather affects how your welding machine is running. It affects how that welding rod is burning. The welding rod itself, depending on the quality of that welding rod, matters and changes how things go. How somebody talks to you that morning, again, a mental game. If somebody walks by and accidentally bumps something, that plays a part. If your arm slips as you're welding, that affects and plays a huge part in whether you're going to pass that test or not. Lots of different variables just in the welding, not to mention a political variable or an inspector's standard. I think that's one of the reasons why I love pipeline welding specifically, but any job where you got to test in on every job that you go on, it's just really challenging. And for me personally, over my years of pipelining, or I should say when I was pipelining, a goal for mine was to get better and better every day and get real good at testing, because I like that feeling of going to a job and knowing and feeling confident that you can, put down your best that day and confidently pass that day, no matter what standards that inspector has. And that slowly but surely happened in the 7 years that I was pipelining. I can tell you today that I feel confident on a 12-inch weld on a 5G, but I don't feel as confident on a bigger pipe and on a 45. And the little I learned, and I'm still learning over my welding career, is a lot of that just comes with time and just doing more and more and more of it. Whether that's welding pipe or welding on anything, structural, doesn't matter. Just continually keeping your hand in it and getting better every time that you weld something, those accumulative experiences build on each other. And you look back 5 years or 7 years, in my case, I look back at whenever I first started welding pipeline, and then whenever I kind of got out of it, I seen and I could feel the difference in my pipe welding abilities. At the end of this video, I'll be sharing with you another struggle of mine, specifically on this 24-inch pipe.
hand's getting out of hand. Uh-oh, cut out. For sure cut out. Alright, now that we got it hot passed, let's take a look at the bead. See if it looks a little different. A lot of the slag is broke off of it. Not all, but a lot. There you have it. 24-inch weld on a 45 puddle cap. Left-handed over here. Come on. I need lots of practice on my bottoms now. They're too droopy. And see if I can get a good shot of it. I mean, they're just way too droopy. I don't know how else to say it. Just could be way more uniform. That's my kryptonite on 24-inch, especially on a 45 puddle cap, is that daggum bottom. Yeah, that's a good view right there. See how it's droopy right there? No good. No good. Some inspectors will let it fly, but I don't even want to let it fly. That's why I'm practicing. Not that I'm looking to go on a pipeline job anytime soon, but it just bothers me that I never, confidently got that puddle cap on a 375 wall on a 45 or on 24-inch at a 5G. It bothers me that I never, whenever I was pipelining, that I never got that down confidently. So that's why I enjoy making pipe welds here at home whenever I get a chance.
One of the biggest challenges for me whenever I was pipelining was worrying so much about what others thought about me. Honestly, I still struggle with it today, but whenever I think about when I was pipelining and sharing about that. Speaking of my years of pipeline welding, it was such an uncomfortable feeling, getting a repair. It was such an uncomfortable feeling busting a test. The knee-jerk reaction is to blame this, blame that, like blame the weather, blame the inspector, because it's uncomfortable. It sucks. Your buddies or these other welders didn't bust, but you did. It's very demeaning. That's why self-confidence is such a big deal, especially in a trade or in a line of work like pipeline welding, or where the standards are higher than other types of welding jobs. Any welding job where the standards are high and you got to test for every job, and every weld you make's got to be x-rayed, and you got to stay on your game like that. Any industry where it's like that, and it's like so judged whenever you do quote unquote fail, and I guess part of it's because you were raised like I was, you don't want to fail. Like I tried so hard to make sure that I didn't get a repair. That was like a big deal for me, but it happened. I got repairs over my 7 years of pipeline welding, and I knew other good welders that did also. So it's something that definitely you learn with time, that like everybody struggles with. But when you're 20 years old and you're trying to prove yourself, and everybody's, I don't know, like it's just whenever you are around guys and you hear them talking about so and so struggle with this or whatever, you start judging yourself. So you're like, man, if they're talking about them like that, they must think about me like that whenever I struggle or whatever. So it's like you get in your own head and you start listening to all this outside noise, and it's just exhausting, and it takes a huge mental toll on your self-confidence. So all that to say is, worrying about what other people think is one of the biggest challenges that I struggle with, and that anybody can relate to that in life, in this world. And so I'm just speaking of it to bring it to the light, if you will, and just give you some food for thought, I guess you could say. Being mindful of how much we think about what others think about us in whatever situation that is, because the more you can build that self-confidence and work on yourself mentally and emotionally, the more that the outside noise, what others think, even if they may not think that, but in your head you're telling yourself they must think that. A lot of it's right up here, but the more you can work on, yourself and not get so wrapped up in those potentially false thoughts, but especially just stuff you're making up in your head. A lot of it you're making up in your head is what I'm getting at. And the more you can get better at not listening to those thoughts, the better your life will be, I believe. You know, it's working for me slowly, but it is working. Just to be clear, what I am not saying is to not strive for perfection. I think striving for perfection and striving to better your craft or whatever it is great, but do it for yourself. Compete against yourself. Put blinders on in those moments of like those hard moments, like when you bust a weld test. I know, I got experience. Or when you catch a repair. Since we're talking about pipeline, we'll leave it in this same realm. In those moments, put your blinders on and think about, what can I learn from this situation? Don't think about what others are thinking about you. Don't start thinking about what the weld boss is going to do, what he's going to think about you. He's going to lay you off because you've got a couple of repairs now. You got to, like, your brain starts taking these issues that have just happened, and you start worrying about too much in the future instead of taking a second just to breathe. Notice whenever these thoughts start taking over, and just stop for a minute and breathe. And then just think, what can I learn from this? Don't worry about what the outside world's doing. Compete against yourself. How can I get better? How can I learn from this situation? Don't blame, don't think about what the outer conditions could have done different. Think about what you can do different. What can I do different next time? Hope all that makes sense, and I hope it helps. Hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you have an awesome Christmas and a fantastic New Year's. We will see you in the next video, and remember, learn something every day.